It seems remaking classic RPGs has been going very well for Square Enix as of late, with the recent Final Fantasy VII Rebirth proving to be even better than the critically acclaimed Final Fantasy VII Remake back in 2020. So myself and a lot of fans apparently have been wondering what other classics could Square Enix eventually remake that isn't a Final Fantasy game. Well, the obvious frontrunner would be the beloved 1995 SNES, which just had its 29th anniversary, no less, on March 11th. One of the original directors of Chrono Trigger, Yoshinori Kitase, recently asked fans about the best approach to bringing back or remaking the classic JRPG for a modern audience. First released for the SNES in 1995, Chrono Trigger was one of the most influential JRPGs of all time. It had a team of talented creators working on the game, including Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi from Square, and sadly recently departed Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball fame. Yoshinori Kitase, who was the director of many critically acclaimed Final Fantasy games, and continues to work at Square Enix to this day as a producer, most recently even on Remake and Rebirth. Now, Chrono Trigger has an immense amount of charm. I remember first playing it and thinking early on, it felt like a very solid RPG with great depth, graphics, character development, storylines, etc. Everything you'd expect in a great RPG. It didn't take very long to realize that Chrono Trigger had a great amount of care and work put into it. As you play further, it immerses you into the story, characters, and world to the point where it's like all you can think about. The story was mind-blowing when it first came out, with the clever use of time travel. A mysterious portal opens up and swallows main character Chrono's friend Marl. He boldly jumps in after her, setting in motion a story that has you following his adventures in time to the past, forward in time to the distant future, and every other point in between. And what starts as a simple mission to rescue your friend escalates into a battle for the fate of the planet. The sprite work is beautiful and some of the best looking on the SNES. The gameplay is a bit more complicated. It's an early iteration of JRPG with real-time combat. You choose your attack, spell, items, and targets as the battle continues, with the speed stat dictating turn order. There are options to slow or speed this as well to pause the time and flow when you're navigating menus, and also a button to fast forward through combat with simple attacks for easy encounters. Enemies are also encountered on the same map you fight, with no random encounters. This means most encounters can be avoided if you choose. So the idea of a remake was brought up to Kitase, and he himself has listed 3 possibilities of what a potential remake would look like. He first brings up straight porting the game to modern consoles, which would definitely be the easiest method. The second option would be a graphical remaster on the same level as, say, 2019's Link's Awakening remake, or an HD 2D remake like Live Alive or Star Ocean, or maybe even what just Final Fantasy Pixel remasters recently did. This would probably be the best for gamers who would prefer that the core gameplay and storytelling of Chrono Trigger to remain the same. On the other hand, my personal favorite option would be a remake on the scale of what Final Fantasy VII is going through right now, a complete shift from a turn-based gameplay system to real-time turn-based hybrid action combat. It could appeal to, a wider audience. I personally vote for the Final Fantasy VII Remake treatment. Now, the story can be the same, as Final Fantasy VII is changing and adding a few things here and there, but for Chrono Trigger, I'd pretty much just want it, a graphical 3D overhaul with gameplay improvements. The story, characters, and locations should stay the same. I know a lot of fans would argue against this, as purists of these games want them to stay as close to the original as possible, but I'm really enjoying what Square is doing with Final Fantasy VII right now, and would kill for them to not only do more Final Fantasy games like that, but toss in Chrono Trigger as well. I could argue a win for both parties would be something like what Resident Evil Remake did back on the GameCube, arguably the best remake of any game ever. If you haven't already played this masterpiece, I suggest you check it out and experience one of the great, all-time greats of not only, JRPGs, but of any game ever made. The true definition of a classic, one I hope will see some form of a resurgence one day. Until then, thanks for watching the video. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment below on what you'd personally like to see from Chrono Trigger if they decide to update it. Thanks for watching.